What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network for a deck profile on Vikavolt V in the Ultra Prism through Darkness Ablaze format, which will be the pre-rotation standard format that the POG 2020 tournament is going to be played in, which is an online tournament coming up in August. And I have information for that at the link down below if you want to, register for that. It is free to play, and it's kind of like a 2-day online regional-esque tournament, so I'm super excited for that. And today the deck we're talking about is Vikavolt V, which I think is a very strong tier 1 contender in this pre-rotation Darkness Ablaze meta. So definitely a deck I wanted to profile and talk about a little bit more. We did look at a list from Japan on the channel about a week or two ago, but this is the current list I have been testing, so wanted to talk about it with you all and maybe get some ideas in the comments for possible changes, see how you have been testing Vikavolt V, and see where our experiences have been varying. Before we go into the deck profile, shout out to PotownStore.com, the best place for you to get PTCGO codes, and use code CELIO for 5% off. So make sure you're going over there when Darkness Ablaze comes out on PTCGO to get ready for the POG 2020 tournament. So we're starting off here with Vikavolt V, and I do have Vikavolt V up on the screen just because it's the most prominent card of the deck. And also, these proxies printed out a little bit faded. I got some of the proxies right, got some of the proxies wrong. That's just how it goes. So the camera should focus enough for you to be able to see the card here, but it's also on the screen. It has 210 HP, Lightning type, basic V Pokemon. It does Paralyzing Bolt for Lightning colorless, 50 damage, and your opponent cannot play item cards from their hand next turn. So it is definitely reminiscent of Seismitoad EX. However, this needs a Lightning energy and a colorless energy. In the pre-rotation standard format, that's very easy to do, because we have Cocoa Prism, Thunder Mountain, Counter Gain, as well as Turbo Patch if you choose to play that. However, I am not playing Turbo Patch in my pre-rotation lists. It also has Super Zap Cannon, 190 damage for 3 energy, and then discard 2 energy, so you can actually clean up Pokemon you need to knock out very, very well with this Vikavolt V. So it's very strong, has a nice damage output, especially with Electro Powers before rotation. So there's just a ton of stuff making Vikavolt V, pushing it over the top into tier 1 in the pre-rotation. And we're going to be focusing on using Paralyzing Bolt as early as turn 1. I prefer going second with this deck. So we will try to use it on turn 1 so our opponent cannot play items at all past turn 0. So if they go first and they couldn't play supporters to get into more items, maybe they don't get to really do too much before we get the item lock off, and then we want to keep that item lock as long as we possibly can. So I have 4 Jirachi here. I have seen builds without Jirachi. I kind of like builds without Jirachi for the post-rotation a little bit more than the pre-rotation, just because we still have a skateboard in pre-rotation. So Jirachi, of course, has the Stellar Wish ability once a turn. If this Pokemon is your active, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck and get a trainer from there. Shuffle the cards back, and Jirachi is asleep. So I originally was trying no Jirachi, 2 Jirachi, 3, and 4 Jirachi. And I realized I just want the best starters possible, because I want to consistently be able to safely go second. I want to be able to choose second and actually get that turn 1 item lock. And from there, the deck kind of just can be a little bit slow. It can be a little underwhelming from there if you get that turn 1 item lock off and it's effective. So I put in a couple extra Pokemon that are good starters, because you really don't want to start like a Dedenne or an Eldegoss or something like that. Or Raichu. Raichu is also not a very good starter. So I put in 4 Jirachi just to be as consistent as possible, because I found that, if I choose to go second or my opponent chooses to go first. Let me fix the camera here. I don't know what is happening with that. If my opponent chooses to go first. Okay, there we go. So if my opponent chooses to go first or I win and choose to go second, I want to be able to safely and consistently get that item lock off. So I'm trying to be as consistent as possible. Next we have 2 Dedenne GX. I'll just take out the support Pokemon here and 1 Eldegoss to finish out our support Pokemon, or like our draw support or search, whatever you want to call it, because Eldegoss, you know, has a little bit of search into the discard pile to get supporters. So Dedenne, of course, dump your hand, draw 6. Eldegoss gets a supporter back. With Eldegoss, you can be cute with your supporters a bit. I'm currently not running a Malolana, but I do think that's definitely a consideration. And Dedenne, of course, I want 2 in the deck just in case we prize one, because, again, if I am choosing to go second, I want to feel like I can, most of the time, get that turn 1 item lock, because choosing to go second and whiffing your game plan just really, really stinks. So having 2 Dedenne makes it more likely that I'll either have one in my hand or be able to search one out with Quick Ball or draw into it with Speed Lightning Energy, something like that. And then we have Raichu Alone, Raichu Tag Team, because it's a really good attacker. In the late game, after they knock out 2 Vikavolt Vs, you can potentially stamp them to 2 and then paralyze them. And even though you're not item locking them, stamp to 2 paralysis is really strong. That doesn't change. And, you know, Lightning Ride is also an okay GX attack. You're usually not going to get to use it for its full effect, but it's an okay GX attack, 150, switch into something else. Since, you know, Vikavolt doesn't have a GX attack, our other GX attack I guess we could use is the Dedenne GX, Tingly Return. But decks are having a lot less options within them for GX attacks these days, but you still get to use a GX attack a game, so Lightning Ride is an okay choice. Tapu Koko V is the next Pokemon here. Some of these proxies are actually Japanese because I've reused them to save printer ink from like when I printed these out for Sword and Shield or Rebel Clash testing, so don't mind the Japanese proxies. But Koko V is here because it has free retreat. It's a really solid attacker. I'm sorry, a really solid starter, and also a really solid attacker. Because for 2 lightning and a colorless, it swings 200. So combined between the free retreat, its first attack swinging for 20 and drawing you 2 cards, and it's swinging for 200 for 3 energy, possibly for 2 energy with Thunder Mountain out. I think it's really worth the spot in the deck. The thing that sends it over the top in value is that it has the free retreat, so it's a really, really good starter. Sorry, I hit my camera a little bit. This, if you're a regular at the channel, you'll know these IRL deck profiles aren't my usual thing, so please bear with me. And if you're new, welcome to the chaos. So next we have Zapdos. So I put Zapdos in here. Obviously, it has Thunderous Assault. If it was on your bench, it became your active. It does 80 instead of 10, and you could buff that up with Electro Powers. So I put that in there because in testing versus Decidueye, the new Decidueye from Darkness Ablaze, I was able to get some cheeky wins with Tapu Koko Prism because we have Electro Power in the pre-rotation list. But it's winnable, but not favorable at all. So I thought, you know, we'll put in a Zapdos because it's not terrible, like late game if the item lock isn't doing anything anymore. Like against Centiskorch, sometimes item lock doesn't do enough. They can just pile energy on, and you need an attacker to just poke some damage, but that you can safely sack, that you don't mind if it gets knocked out. So Zapdos serves a couple purposes, but I'm not sure if it'll stick around. This is the newest addition to the deck. It's something I'm just trying out. And then Tapu Koko Prism, Dance of the Ancients, of course, to accelerate our lightning energy. And that finishes it out for the Pokemon. Next, we'll go on to the supporters. Also, shout out to my good friend, John, who made me this mat. Just in case anyone was wondering, this isn't like merch or anything. A friend made it for me. So shout out to him. He streams PTCGO at The Real Sunny Games on Twitch. Here we have Guzmahala, or as I like to call it, Guzmala. And Guzmala is busted broken in pre-rotation Vikavolt V. So you could just use Guzmahala. This is like kind of your preferred supporter. Turn 1, discard 2 cards from your hand, grab a Speed Lightning, grab a tool of your choice, and grab Thunder Mountain, and you are off to the races. So, not much to be said here about Guzmahala. It's just so good in pre-rotation Vikavolt because you get your Speed Lightning energy, your Thunder Mountain, and a tool. We run Toughness Cloak and we run Counter Gain. So, and we run a skateboard, so you can get your free retreat, you can just grab a counter gain within your deck, have it for later, attach it, whatever, or Toughness Cloak to buff up your Vikavolt's HP. And, yeah, this is searchable by Tag Call and by Jirachi, or you just draw into it, and then you get your Thunder Mountain and your Energy Attachment, and your Energy Attachment also draws you 2 cards. So it's just so flippin' good. We have 3 Marnie as well, each player shuffles their hand, puts it at the bottom of the deck. You get 5, your opponent gets 4. Just some good disruption here. Especially like for a turn where maybe you need to not item lock them. You need to swing with a heavier attack. Marnie or Reset Stamp is good to do there. We have 2 Bosses Order for Gust, and of course we have Eldegoss V to always get an extra one if we need it. And we have 3 one-of supporters, 2 of them being tag team supporters that are tag call searchable. And of course, all the one-ofs can be brought back with Eldegoss V if you need them. So we have a Belelba and Bryson Man. This is good to use for its second effect versus Eternatus. So discard 3 cards from the top of each player's deck, and you may discard 3 cards from your hand. If you do, each player discards their benched Pokemon until they have 3 benched Pokemon. Your opponent discards first. Sorry, I can't really get the camera to focus on these, but maybe I'm just bad. There we go. Yeah, so basically, you discard 3 cards from your hand, then you and your opponent both discard your benched Pokemon until you're down to 3. And that's insane versus Eternatus VMAX, because normally Eternatus VMAX is knocking out Vikavolt V. Even if you have a Toughness Cloak, Eternatus VMAX is knocking out Vikavolt V. They don't have items, who cares? They're knocking out Vikavolt V. So if you make them discard 5 Pokemon off their bench, they're probably not refilling that easily, and you can just get by swinging in with Item Lock, swinging in with Paralysis, smacking them with Vikavolt's second attack, Super Zap Cannon, you know. Belelba and Bryson could be very strong versus Eternatus. Then we have Cynthia Caitlin. Put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand, and you can discard a card to draw 3 cards. So pretty simple supporter, but it's nice on the lull turns, like not lull turn like LOL, like lull, like the turn where you're not doing anything. Y'all get it. So there's some turns in the early game, especially like turns 2 and 3, where your opponent's just trying to fight through the item lock, and you don't have to do too much usually. So you could just, you know, grab back a Guzmahala, draw 3 cards, grab back a Boss's Order you had a discard, draw 3 cards, just get a resource for later on, draw 3 cards, build up your hand. Good card. Tag Call searchable if you ever need draw support. And Birdkeeper's a new one, switch your active and then draw 3. So just another switch card, and it also draws you card. I really like it. Next on to the items. Let's get these items and our single stadium. So we got 4 Quick Ball. Discard a card, search for a basic Pokemon. Quick Ball is insane. 4 of in every deck probably. We have 4 Electropower, which are leaving us with rotation, but we still get to play them in pre-rotation, and it's very important to the strength of Vikavolt V. We have 4 Switch, because we want to be rotating our Jirachi out of the active, or whatever's out of the active, to get Vikavolt into there. We got 3 Tag Call. We want that turn 1 Guzmahala. That's the name of the game, so we have 3 Tag Call to do it consistently. 2 Reset Stamp. 2 Counter Gain, because I've found that Counter Gain is important versus decks that are able to one-shot you early, and then you have to come back with like Counter Gain item lock stamp, or versus Eternatus, you want to go like Counter Gain Belelba stamp. And the decks that are usually one-shotting you easily through the item lock, I've found to be Eternatus VMAX and Centiskorch VMAX. But the item lock can definitely get them just like it can with any other deck. And then our one-ofs I'll just put here. We have Thunder Mountain, Great Catcher, Skateboard, and Toughness Cloak. And then all that's left is the energy, which we will be needing those to attack, and we are running a pretty low count of basic energy here. So we've got 5 basic lightning, 4 speed energy, and 2, count 'em, 2 capture energy. Capture energy is super strong because Thunder Mountain actually takes away the lightning energy at cost in the Vikavolt attack. So you can attach capture energy, use it to like grab I don't know, maybe a Jirachi to switch into, or your Tapu Koko Prism to accelerate more energy, and then Thunder Mountain takes care of the lightning part of the attack cost, and you can attack for just a capture energy with Vikavolt. Speed lightning energy, of course, draws 2 cards when you attach it, and basic lightning is basic lightning, and that is the deck. So I think this is really, really strong. This is for the pre-rotation, like I said, testing for the Atlas Pog 2020 tournament coming up in August after Darkness Ablaze is on PTCGO, and it's been testing well. Like I said, I'm trying to make it get the turn 1 item lock going second as consistently as possible, and I think I've gotten a list that's doing that. Set to Scorch VMAX can definitely be tough, but with the second counter gain to bounce back from knockouts, with playing 2 Stamp, with having a couple options for kind of bigger attackers in Coco V and Raichu, which can also paralyze. It's definitely not terrible, but it's a bit of a uphill battle since they have such high HP and their damage keeps on charging up with every energy they attach. Eternatus VMAX, Beloved Bryson Man's kind of the name of the game. Versus Pikarom, I found that to be fairly close. Decidueye, like I said, without the Zapdos was pretty bad, but with the Zapdos it gets better. And then Mill is, I feel like Mill is very favorable, but Control, if the player knows what they're doing, Control can be kind of tough. So I do think Control and Mill are strong for this format, and I think they'll be played since a lot of their cards are rotating out and won't be playable after rotation. But of course, Control needs a player who knows the deck very well. So I don't think Control will be as plentiful as Mill will be, and I think this deck does an okay job versus a Mill. So that is my current Vikavolt V list. Let me know in the comments down below how you've been building Vikavolt V. I originally did have Crushing Hammers, which is something else I should mention, but I felt like the Crushing Hammers were not impactful enough in the matchups I have been testing, which are I'm testing against some of the prominent decks. So since they weren't that impactful, I felt like if the item lock was working, that was enough, and the Crushing Hammers couldn't save it if the item lock wasn't working well enough. So I did have that. I tried it out. I think they might be better in post-rotation, but in this list, I wasn't really feeling it for this meta, for this format. So let me know what you've been working on. And if you enjoyed this video and you're not already subscribed, make sure you go do that and leave a like on the video if you like the video. Check out PotownStore.com for all of your PTCGO needs, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.